On this, your fingers are off screen.
I know. Sorry, but I'm trying to hold down to the. I'm waiting for the live signal to give me. It's like, okay. All right.
On this week's episode, am I supposed to have the PCC Multiverse? Or did I say?
Where?
Do I
Right
just
there.
okay?
On this week's episode.
Do I need to call out the name of the podcast though? Is that
No.
okay?
You never do it. You always do it at the end. You always give the tease.
On this week's episode, can a crime hunting Pokemon be the next threat to the Avengers? How to cope emotionally with the fallout from Endgame? And does the return of Pennywise mean scary times are yet to come? All this as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse.
See, it goes there. I don't know if it's any good there, but
Just making sure, man. You're I don't want to derail the train.
we've only done this 119 times.
Well, what do they say? The 120th time is the charm.
There you go. That's true. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great programs. Yep. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is our own Pennywise from Humanica Media. You got to check out everything that's going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. A lot of good stuff going on who has a lot of good stuff going on for him, and I just truly cannot be more happier for him. That's my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. I normally say what's going on, man, but with you, man, there is always a lot going on.
Yeah, man. Just a lot of exciting things going on. Big announcement to make soon. What else? Finished Assassin's Creed Fate of Atlantis. I've just been a busy man, just doing this. You can check out my review online now at popculturecosmos.com of Yonder Cloudcatcher, just doing all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. It's all over the place. You want to check out the Yonder review, you got to check it out today on the popculturecosmos.com site, and a lot of other good stuff that's coming up for him as well. Just stay tuned right here to our shows, and you'll be able to check out everything that's going on in the world of Josh Peterson. I'm trying to make it like, Disney, Utah type universe. There's a Josh.
It's a cinematic universe.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Peterverse. There you go.
Ooh.
Peterverse.
Might want to change the phrasing a little bit, but I like where it's going.
But we're gonna have a great. That's true. But we're gonna have a great episode for everyone out there today. Want to be talking a little bit about a little Pikachu, Detective Pikachu, so cute. He's going to be challenging the Avengers Endgame to this weekend at the box office. We're going to talk about how those two are going to collide. Plus, also as well, we're going to be talking at the back end of the show about the latest It Chapter 2 trailer, and also whatever that was when it concerns the Watchmen. And we're going to be talking about that, whether, trying to explain it or even trying to figure it out ourselves. We're not even sure, but we're going to talk about that at the back end of the show. Plus, also as well, we've got three great guests on today in two different interviews. First up, we've got Racing Chu of the Singapore Institute of Health and the Regacy Show that's available now on Anchor and so many other different outlets. He's going to stop by. Plus, also Jenny and Josh Brennan from the Changing Perspectives podcast. Their show is available on Libsyn, Spotify, and so many other great outlets. The reason why I have all those great guests on today is the fact we were talking at length about if you were on that high in watching Avengers Endgame, and you were so excited in anticipation for it, and you're on a little bit of a letdown. You're come down now because it's just the excitement's gone by for it, and you've already watched it once or twice, and you're realizing what is there next for you in regards to whatever it is you want to be looking towards to. We're going to talk to both of them exactly on how not only to cope with the events going on in Avengers Endgame, but also how to cope as well with everything going on as far as pop culture. And you get on those high of highs, and now you come down into those low lows. And if that's the case for some people out there, and I know a lot of people out there are snickering and whatnot, But there is, for a lot of people out there, a lot of excitement that was generated that once you get off that adrenaline, it's really hard to go ahead and fully function once again. And we're gonna those guests are coming on to really tell you how they go ahead and cope, how best to cope, with the fallout from Avengers Endgame, both from an on-screen and off-screen perspective, and how to go ahead and keep that positive attitude going on for whatever it is you want to go ahead and do post Endgame. So we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking to those great guests about that and so much more. I mean, we got topics from them for about a lot going on as far as their thoughts with their family, how they perceived Avengers Endgame. Racing talks about pro wrestling. A lot of great talk coming up from both those guests. But first up, my friend, it's going to be another great weekend at the box office. The first true challenger to Avengers Endgame is now appearing in theaters, and that is Detective Pikachu. I can't believe I'm saying that. A year ago, I wasn't sure if I could even say that, but Detective Pikachu does seem like a viable contender to the number one slot as far as at least the domestic box office. And I have a feeling a lot of international slots as well, because Detective Pikachu comes in with a lot of hype, a lot of good buzz. And my friend, I ask you this, with all the stuff going in and all the pretty good reviews for it and all the hype, could this be the biggest video game related movie, video game adaptation movie of all time?
It is the I don't biggest maybe. I mean, it's hard to see.
I mean, you got Ryan Reynolds voice, doing the voiceover for Detective
Yeah,
Pikachu.
the cast is really good. I'll give him that. And the reviews are coming in really great. But like it's hard. We've made early predictions. Remember that with Tomb Raider too, and Tomb Raider didn't end up coming out the gate so hot. So I want to say yes,
Well,
and
when
it's
you said that, I didn't think it looked so hot.
but no, you're gonna take the blame with me, man. No, but I want it to do well. I hope it does well because it looks like a really fun movie and it's got a lot of talent attached to it. And if anything, like this could be, if people can see, like, this is a very good quality video game adaptation. So if people can see what this, right, see what this can do, then maybe we'd be able to see more things like that, if that makes sense. More like finely tuned video game features. Like I don't know how the Witcher's going to be on Netflix, but this Detective Pikachu, it looks like a really fun movie, and it goes to show that the worlds that are created in video games are interesting and vibrant and full of life, and that's something that people who make who adapt video games don't really ever explore. And I don't know if that's their fault or the producers, but it's an avenue that if that door is opened, then who knows what we could get in the future.
Well, it does come at a very interesting time because this is the most important weekend for Avengers Endgame. And I say that because we're not 100% sure if it will actually beat the all time record holder in Avatar at just under $2.8 billion. Right now, it is just under a $500 million away at this point in time from beating Avatar, and it needs a strong third weekend worldwide at the box office in order to go ahead and achieve that feat of becoming the number one all time at the box office. And we will know by the end of the weekend whether or not it will go ahead and surpass Avatar or not. And I've got my fingers crossed. I'm actually going to go see Avengers Endgame for a third time. I'm also going to try and see if I can sneak in Pikachu, but at some point in time, I'm going to go ahead and check it out because I got a couple girls that want to go ahead and check it out. So it is something that is very interesting because there is now a viable contender to the number one slot. And even if Avengers Endgame still grosses in let's say domestically about 70 to 75 million, Detective Pikachu, with all the good hype, with all the good buzz, and all the decent reviews that are out there, it quite possibly could be not only the biggest video game adaptation movie of all time, but also it could be the number one at the box office, and that might put a damper on everyone's hopes of Avengers Endgame beating Avatar.
So let me ask you this real quick. If Detective Pikachu ends up selling you know, box office numbers through the roof, okay? Do you think that we will get a live action adaptation of the first Pokemon movie? And if so, do you think that scene with Ash when he's turning to stone will be this generation's version of the horse dying in the Neverending Story?
First off, not a lot of people even know that reference to the never-ending story. My gosh,
Look it up.
it's been so long since I've seen that movie, and you almost forget about that scene. But I do remember it, and I don't know. It could have that remnants of it, and we could be talking about it quite a bit. It all depends on if you know, I'll tell you what. If Detective Pikachu scores, there will be a there will be a vested interest by Hollywood to go ahead and either revive the Pokemon movie in some form or fashion, or go ahead and just create a Pokeverse. So everybody's got to chat. Everybody's got to attach a verse to everything. The Josh Peterverse out there. So
The
need I say
Pop
more?
Culture Cosmos verse,
Yeah,
we
a multiverse. There
yeah,
you
we have
go.
Cosmos and verses, so it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Spider-Man Far From Home, they're trying to copy our thing. Marvel's trying to copy our thing with the multiverse and all that. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
let's patent this right now. TM, TM, TM. Okay, now you can talk to our lawyers.
there you go. And a little C, the little C, the little copyright C.
There we go.
Yes.
Copyright C. Yep.
Yes, yes. But anyways, it is going to be a great weekend at the box office for Detective Pikachu. And I think there will be, like I said, if it does as well as we think it will do, I think there will be a much more vested interest by Hollywood to go ahead and create more Pokemon movies to the big screen and cash in as best they can on it. And this is something that I think was a long time coming since the first original Pokemon movie, which actually surprised people by actually way back when it came out in theaters of actually doing pretty decently at the time. I think a lot of people were surprised at even actually not only I think a lot of people were surprised at being in theaters, but also not only that, but actually doing quite well for itself for a smaller scale film. And at that point in time, it was really something that a lot of people could get interested in. A lot of people like yourself have actually remembered it quite fondly, and now Detective Pikachu has finally evolved into Detective Pikachu, and it looks like it's really going to go places from there.
Do you remember when first Pokemon movie came out and they were giving away, if you went to go see it on opening day, you got a free holographic Mew card. And I remember when the kids whose parents took them to see it on the premiere night, they come to school with their Pokemon notebooks. Guys, look what I got, Mew. And like some of these kids were using those cards to trade for the ones that they have been wanting from other people's notebooks for so long. And then, so people are giving up like Charizards and Blastoises and Venusaurs for that. And then come to find out that Mew card was worth absolutely nothing. And then you look at now how much a Charizard's worth, and you're like, oh, I got ripped off there a little bit.
Did that little something happen to you?
I don't want to talk about it. All right, it's a bad memory. We're digging up old skeletons here.
And that leads me into the final question I want to ask when it comes to Detective Pikachu. Should you, we were just talking about it as being the biggest video game adaptation movie possibly of all time, by the end of its run. That is definitely in play. But should you actually consider it as a video game adaptation movie, or should you consider it the original, or should you think of it as where it originated from the actual card game?
Well, so there is a video, like Detective Pikachu is a video game.
Well, I understand it is, but where actually Pokemon originated from was an actual card game first.
Right, right. Yeah. Was it a video game first, or was it a card game first?
Well, that's what I want to say. Was it chicken or the egg?
Because I know that the like Pokemon cards didn't get popular until everyone had, had their time with Red and Blue. But yeah, I would consider it a video game adaptation because it's not. Nobody wants to have the merit of being a card game or board game adaptation because look, we got Battleship didn't do so hot. I can even go so far back as to name Dungeons and Dragons. Remember that movie? Remember that masterpiece? That beautiful flick that nobody talks about anymore?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't know. Do Pokemon? It's different things to different people, and that's what I've always liked about it. Same thing. It's kind of reminds me of Avengers, you know, in the Marvel stuff, Marvel comics. Like it all means different things to different people. It represents a moment in time for adults, and it represents something that's still happening for kids today. Like my nephew collects Pokemon cards now, and I guess like him and his friends still trade them. So that's cool to me. But yeah, I mean, I it has a special place in my heart because it was really what they call it, baby's first RPG. So that was like the first RPG that I played from start to finish, and I, you know, went on to Final Fantasies and stuff like that. But it does have a very special place in my heart, and I would like to go, you know, see it while it's in theaters. But you know, again, it's different things to everybody. Like, what was your first Pokemon memory?
Well, before I go into that, I'm going to say since both came out in 1996, it looks like to me, I think by ever the slightest of margins, I would probably say and lean it towards a video game adaptation because the card series came out in October, and I believe the video game series, from what I'm seeing, came out just right around that time frame as well. So let's go ahead and call it a video game adaptation.
Are we putting a
100%.
tally on the Josh is right section?
There you go.
Okay.
You've got that whiteboard over there, so you better
Yeah.
go ahead and check yourself one
Okay,
off
I'm
right
gonna
there.
put a little mark up here.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, I think the biggest memory that I have is when it first came to the Game Boy, and a lot of people were going ahead and starting to talk about it. As far as that's what's where I remember it first. I don't remember the card game until around, let's say, maybe just before the turn of the century, around 99, 98, 99. I think that's when really started to get popular as far as the card game part of it to me. But you know, at this point in time, it looks like it. You know, for me, the video game was what I remember first in Game Boy. I think was just just popularized it tremendously. And I remember when I was running the game store in the 2007 2008 area, and just the mass of different types of Pokemon games that we had in the store, both new ones that were being introduced and the old ones that were kept on getting traded and sold, because as soon as someone would trade it in for other stuff, boom, somebody would go ahead and pick them all up. Yeah, they didn't stay in stock very long because a lot of people have such a great interest for playing older Pokemon just as much as they do for playing whatever was the current Pokemon that was out.
Do you ever find that like with our friends down at Retro City Games? Like I've been to like Book Off and seen this happen, but the prices of the old Pokemon games, they rise and fall. Like they have surges of popularity, in which case they're very expensive, and then you have times when nobody wants them and the prices drop. Do you see that happening a lot?
Yes, actually, I do. I see. I do. I think it's just relative to whatever they think is in when it comes to Pokemon, and I think it also transcends as far as sometimes the Pokemon card game is hotter than the actual Pokemon game itself, and then lately in the past couple years, the Pokemon game, the Pokemon video game, and that lately in the past couple of years, it's been obviously with the mobile game Pokemon Go coming out that created such a craze. That created such a craze that everybody was just had to go out there and got to catch some more. I think a lot of people were really getting into that. So at this point in time, I'd say the video game is a little bit hotter, but the trading card game, it's that steady. For them, it's that steady. It's always that steady. It's always there. It always has its crowd, always has its followers. It's just, whatever happens as far as the video game, as far as up and down. And right now, the Pokemon video game is on a pretty good high right now. And of course, we're going to see a lot more from Pokemon in the future for the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, those games are. I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit more from them at E3 because I know they're doing their Nintendo Direct conference, and that's going to be followed by a Nintendo Treehouse presentation. So I'm hoping we see more of what those are all about. But and honestly, I'm just excited to be able to have a mainline Pokemon entry on the Nintendo Switch because Pokemon Let's Go is fun, but it's just this is what we've been waiting for, and I'm thinking that the popularity of this game is going to decide like the future of the Nintendo's handhelds, whether they're going to keep doing 3DS stuff or not. So it's good. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited.
Absolutely. And it is definitely going to do a lot of, absolutely. And you're going to hear a lot of great things from Pokemon, not only from the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, another rendition or edition of the card game will always be introduced year in, year out, or at least additions or add-ons that's going to get everybody, that's going to get those followers really excited time and time again. But now with Detective Pikachu getting very strong reviews, and also as well a lot of great interest and buzz out there, and quite possibly becoming the number one movie at the box office this weekend, it is going to be good times for Pokemon. But again, this is the biggest weekend of the year for Avengers Endgame, and anybody hoping for it to surpass Avatar as the number one movie of all time, like we are, that's definitely going to be telling on where the movie will end up by the end of the weekend. And we'll make sure we report it right here on our Pop Culture Cosmos show coming Monday. What are your thoughts out there on Detective Pikachu? Are you going to go ahead and catch them all by going ahead and checking out the movie this weekend at the box office? Share us your thoughts. Oh, and also as well, do you think it'll surpass Avengers Endgame? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, the next two great interviews coming up back to back starts off with Rayson Chu of the Singapore Institute of Mental Health and the Legacy Show. Check out his thoughts coming up right after the break. And then after that, Jenny and Josh Brennan from the Changing Perspectives podcast follow up with all of them talking about how best to cope with the loss in Avengers Endgame, both on and off screen. The fact that if you've watched it already and you're trying to come down off that high and excitement Avengers Endgame, they talk to you about how best to deal with it and go ahead and keep that positive momentum going forward. This is the PCC Multiverse, and we're back with we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. If you need a listing of where we're at, because we're being played all around the world, we're being played on radio stations all around the world. Check out our listings today on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. You'll also get a listing of many of our podcast and radio outlets, including our returning to Weeby Geek, and also as well, we've recently been added on to the Pandora experience. So check us out today on Pandora or Weeby Geek, plus also as well many of the other great places that we're being played on, including Bullhorn, Podcoin, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and so many other different outlets. My friend, I know you've got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. So tell me, Josh, what is going on with that great experience known as Humanica Media?
There are a few things up in the air right now, getting ready to work on, but you can check out our Avengers Endgame spoiler cast from Topicocalypse, now available online at all the usual places. And there will be a new episode of Topicocalypse going up today. I forget what it's about, but you'll know as soon as I post it. So just keep following the old social media pages to keep up to date with everything we're doing.
Absolutely. And you can check it out today. Absolutely. And you can check it out today on humanicamedia.com or Humanica Media on Facebook. And then also the great Topicocalypse page that's also available as well on Facebook and other social media. My friend, before we head on out, I've got to talk about three different things. First up, as we speak, they're showing off a lot of great footage for Ghost Recon. Hold on. I have the title. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It looks like it's going to be coming October 4th of this year, right after what's going on with Borderlands that's coming out in September. So now we've got a really solid release in September and a really solid release in October. When it comes to Ghost Recon Breakpoint, it comes at a time where just 2 years ago, Ghost Recon Wildlands came out to reviews, and I just didn't really, after the initial surge of buying, it just really didn't connect with audiences, at least not to the point where they're still playing it or anything like that. I mean, it almost dropped off the face of the earth very quickly. And and Ubisoft, transitioned on to what then Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and they also transitioned into Far Cry 5, and they put a lot of money behind that, and then also as well Far Cry New Dawn, and a lot of other great things as well that they moved on to, and it kind of just like pushed Ghost Recon Wildlands to the side rather quickly. Your thoughts on a new Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and if it's something that you think a lot of people would be interested in, or do you think again Ubisoft will go ahead and brush it aside with all the other good stuff, including Rainbow Six Siege, which is still playing well with audiences?
I mean, there's always going to be a place for Ghost Recon games. I remember playing the Ghost Recon, just the original Ghost Recons on it was the Xbox 360. Yeah, and I remember it's just it's your typical third person shooter. The original ones were very flawed, very clunky to play, non-responsive, and your teammates were always when they were played by NPCs, or not NPCs, but when they were played by the computer, like they were always running you over or blowing you up. Like it had a lot of issues. But then I heard Wildlands was actually not that bad. Like it got what sevens, eights across different platforms, but I think there will always, because Ghost Recon is kind of a staple franchise for Ubisoft and the Tom Clancy games. So a world without Ghost Recon seems weird to me. But this one, they have star power behind it, right? John Bernthal's in it, and they're going out of their way to market this game really well. So until any reviews come out or any, like, I would like to see some gameplay of what it looked like, but that they're not doing too bad with what they've announced so far, 4-player co-op and stuff like that. So I'm definitely interested to see how it goes. But let me ask you this: do you think the Tom Clancy franchise that people really want and would really make them a good deal of money is Splinter Cell?
You stole that thunder from me. You stole that thunder from me, because that was on the tip of my tongue as you were speaking, because I was going to say Splinter Cell. We haven't seen a Splinter Cell in quite some time. But
E3,
then again,
man.
Splinter Cell is the type of deal where, okay, if it's not good when it's finally introduced back into the wild, people are going to just move ahead. At this point in time, people just move ahead to different things. I mean, look at Ghost Recon Wildlands. I mean, people moved away from that rather quickly because Fortnite, PUBG,
Right.
those games were very similar in style to Ghost Recon Wildlands, and they were free to play, and they just, and they were available, and had a much larger following, and they just bulldozed over Ghost Recon Wildlands. So if Ghost Recon Breakpoint wants to do any type of action, you know what? It's going to have to be something that's much better than what was offered in Wildlands, and it's going to have to be something that's going to get people away and bring people away from Fortnite, and also as well PUBG, because those are very similar in style to what Ghost Recon has always had to offer. And when it comes to what you were talking about with Splinter Cell, yeah, a lot of people are wanting a new Splinter Cell game, and I think at this point in time, Ubisoft has to finally deliver. Again, eventually, at some point in time. Obviously, since Ghost Recon Breakpoint is being announced, it's not going to happen this year. But at some point in time, there has to be a Splinter Cell that comes out, because I think there is still a lot of great interest into it. A lot of great interest in it.
Well, because if you remember, Rainbow Six had a very dead period too, where all the games that came out in that franchise was absolute garbage, and then now they kind of seem to be back in their game.
I agree with you, my friend. So we'll have to wait and see what's going on, because this is Ubisoft's latest release coming up, and that is Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and that is coming up October 4th to all the major systems coming up out there. We'll go ahead and make sure and give you the high sign on what's going on with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, with all the different features and and gameplay footage. We'll make sure we post that, and at any given point in time, coming up here very soon on our Game Source Facebook page as well. All right, my friend, two great things to talk about before we head on out. And obviously, number one has to be the return of It, because It Chapter 2 dropped its first teaser trailer at this point in time. And actually, it looked like it was almost a full scene involving Jessica Chastain. Your thoughts on seeing the first creepy trailer for It Chapter 2?
It was pretty creepy. I'll be honest, was not
Would you
expecting it.
like some cookies? I've got
Yeah,
some cookies
but
baking.
I mean, and you could tell like that was going to that there's something not quite right with that lady. She reminded me of that movie that M. Night Shyamalan made with grandma's grandparents' house. What was that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
The
about, where they
Visit.
try to
The
what?
Visit. Yeah, it's called
Yeah,
The
the visit
Visit.
because they try to put the kid in the oven.
Yes, yes. So that what kinda reminded me of that whole because old like, there's something with horror movies, little kids are creepy and old people are terrifying, so, they're kinda playing onto that whole thing, but,
Gee,
no.
thanks.
But it
I just
looks
turned 50. That's just, makes
no,
me
you're
feel
good,
even
man.
better.
I think, like, the cutoff line for being a creepy old person is, like, 65. You got, like, 15
Well, I'm
years
not yet
to
I'm
live.
not yet eligible to earn all those senior discounts yet,
Yeah,
so
so you're good, man. But it looks good, man. It looks creepy. What I did like about the original It movie was not the way back one, but the most recent one that came out was that it has a they walk that line pretty well between horror, comedy, and intrigue, you know? So it feels scary, but at the same time, it feels has a hint of ET or Super 8, you know, something that could be made by so like a horror director, but at the same time has like a taste of J.J. Abrams type filming in it, which was cool. What do you think about the grown up characters?
I think the cast is very interesting. Obviously, it's an A-list cast because it chapter 1 did so well at the box office. You're gonna go ahead and get big names for when they're adults. I think this is a heavyweight cast that could deliver very strongly on it, and I find it very interesting to see that, the names that are there. It's like X-Men West when you've got two of the main characters from X-Men going to it chapter 2, so yeah, I mean, it's just kind of funny how that ends up. But we'll have to wait and see. What comes up for it chapter 2. It does look very interesting. It looks very creepy, and I think it's going to do very well at the box office. And even if it doesn't do as well as chapter 1, that's okay. It's all house money because I think it's going to do I think it's going to do well enough, even if it doesn't score well. And I mean, I think it's going to do well enough initially to go ahead and garner at least a lot of interest there. And that would lead me into my last question regarding it chapter 2, my friend. Could there actually be a franchise coming up for it, and could it lead us into an it chapter 3, which didn't happen before, and it's not really related to in the, I guess, the original Stephen King book.
No, I don't think so, man. I feel
You'll
like
think they'll close it out?
I think they'll close it out because I don't think Stephen King is one to. I mean, I don't think the properties are actually his anymore once he got the books published. But I don't think that he would be on board to let somebody add on to his material. If it's written by him, then maybe that could be a whole other thing. But as far as I know, because I've read the book and the second part of this, like he dies, he's gone. Pennywise is no more after this. So I would just be curious to see how they expand that. But I would love to see a connected Stephen King universe. You know how we discussed with the Dark Tower, because the Dark Tower is failing. That's how all of these creatures exist in all of these worlds that Stephen King has created. So it'd be cool to kind of see that all come together and maybe tie into Amazon's Dark Tower series. That's what I would like to see. But I don't think many people, purists especially, would be happy if they kept adding more content onto the movies.
You never know. The cashola, my friend, the cashola. They may not. They may be too tempted to go ahead and try and lengthen that out into an it chapter 3.
It
But
just represents that whole soullessness, though, of Hollywood, right? We're ruining good stories for the sake of money.
welcome to Hollywood, my friend. Welcome to Hollywood. When they go ahead and publish, and when they go ahead and make a chapter 3 out of one of your books, you're going to be very disheartened as you go ahead and drive away in your Ferrari.
I'm gonna go cry and I'll blow my nose in $100 bill.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. What are your thoughts out there on the latest It Chapter 2 trailer? Are you excited like we are that it's coming back to screens later on this year? Are you very interested and intrigued into what's going to go on as far as the possible demise of Pennywise? and the kids grown up as the kids grown up as adults with an A-list cast. Are you impressed by exactly who they got to appear in the film? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, I want to make sure we thank Racing Shu of the Singapore Institute of Health and the Legacy Show, and also as well Jenny and Josh Brennan from the Changing Perspectives podcast for being on today's show. We truly appreciate them for stopping by, and also hope that they will be on their show once again real soon. Before we head on out, man, what the heck was that? What the heck was that Watchmen trailer all about?
I don't know. So I've had multiple discussions with people about this, and I'm hearing different things. Like one person said that it's not it's not adapted to the Watchmen specifically. Like it takes place afterwards, or and then someone else said it just takes place in the Watchmen universe. Because obviously we saw in the trailer, right? There are a bunch of Rorschachs, and Rorschach, if you haven't read the comic books, like he is a character who fought. He was he's kind of like your heartless vigilante, but over the course of the comic book, he grows a heart, and then he is one of those people where he's like, I have to do the right thing, or you're going to have to kill me. And then the other Watchmen, spoiler alert, the other Watchmen end up killing him because he can't get on board with their plan to ultimately save the future according to their version of saving the future. So it's just interesting to see like what they've done to Rorschach. If is there what's left of him? Maybe in this alternate timeline he didn't die. I don't know. There's too many things going on in this, man. Like it confuses me. Is it a continuation of Zack Snyder's thing? We don't know. Is it another multiverse thing? Again, we don't know. Like it there wasn't really enough revealed in the trailer to show what was going on. All that it really seems to share in common is the Rorschach mask and the name Watchmen. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know what to think of it. There wasn't. I'm Maybe I'll watch a couple episodes, but I don't at this point, I don't really care.
And Don Johnson as a sheriff saying TikTok, TikTok.
Right, right. And because I know that Alan Moore hates all the adaptations of his properties, so I'm not sure even like how he's feeling about this.
Maybe he feels better as he's driving away in his Ferrari, blowing his nose on $100 bills.
Oh, possible. But I mean, also like Alan Moore's art is having a renaissance on screen though, right? Because we had V for Vendetta, we had Watchmen not too long ago, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I heard that he hated, but also Swamp Thing's coming out too. So who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe money will allow people to do great and terrible things to great and terrible franchises.
Only time will tell, my friend. TikTok, TikTok. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great